Hey everyone, welcome to another top 10 list. One of the questions I get a lot is from new collectors, and they're always asking, what should I collect? Well, the proper answer is you should collect anything you want. But I understand what they're getting at. And I decided to make a couple top 10 lists of notes that people would probably be interested in that are still affordable, and I broke it down into a couple different categories. So today we're going to do the top 10 large size notes that are easy enough to get into your collection. All right, so let's get started. Number 10 this week. I'm starting off with this here. This is a 1923 silver certificate. It's the last large size note. It's the one that gave them all the nickname the horse blanket because prior to our small size notes, this was the size of all of our notes. So people didn't think it was funny. People didn't think it was unusual, the size of the notes. This is how big money was. Then in 1928, the small size notes came out, and as an example, here's one right here. So you can see how much smaller the notes got. That's when people realized how big these were, and people started referring to these as horse blankets compared to the small size notes. So even though all of our notes were this size prior to 1923, it wasn't until the small size notes came out that people started calling these horse blankets. So that's where that term comes from. These are very easy to get into your collection. You can see the back here. These, well, you can get in rough shape for around $20, and in nicer shape they can be $60, $75, $80, $100 depending on the grade. But it's an easy enough add to your collection, and to see a note this big that still looks so familiar next to our modern notes, well, that's definitely a good reason to get it into your collection. So that's number 10. Number 9 is almost the identical note. It is from the same time period. This is a 1923 $1 legal tender. Now, the difference between the two notes, as you can see side by side, is very minor. At the very top, you can see this one is the silver certificate, which means this one is backed by silver. This is a legal tender, otherwise known as a United States note, and a legal tender has this obligation that says this note is a legal tender at its face value for all debts, public and private, except on imports and trying to read that interest on the public debt. The reasoning for this note versus this one, which says this certificate is, let's see if I can try to read this without my glasses on because it's right over there. Okay, this one is backed by silver, and this one, a law was passed requiring the U.S. to have a certain amount of cash in circulation. So a law is what gives this note its value. We are required to have so much circulating money. So this is worth something because the federal government made a law saying that it is legal tender. That's a red seal. So this didn't have the backing of anything other than the government saying that it was worth something, where this was backed by silver. The two notes share the same back, and with the exception of the red ink, pretty much share the same front. If we were to look at the two stamps here, they're virtually identical, just color differences. And if we look at the seals, once again, virtually identical, just talking a different color ink. Series 1923, Series 1923. These are a little bit more expensive. These will start off about $180 to $200 and can get up there pretty quick. But considering it's a 1923 and its similarities to the first one, you may want to have both of them in your collection. As similar as they are still two totally different notes. That's number 9. Number 8. This is the $1 legal tender that was prior to this one. This one is the 1917 series of 1917 $1 legal tender, and this was the look of legal tenders from 1869 all the way to 1917, technically to 1923 when this came out. So this is what our $1 notes look like for the longest time. The 1869 version, that's the rainbow, those are expensive. There are numerous different signature combinations on these. And if we look at the back, you can see this X pattern. That was known as the sawhorse, as if you were putting two boards like that to make something to lean up on to cut wood. So that's the sawhorse. You can see their series of 1917, a nice blank area here, so you can look and see the red and blue fibers, so you know it's not counterfeit. And of course, you have the full-blown obligation, referring to counterfeiting being punishable by a $5,000 fine or 15 years imprisonment at hard labor, or both. So it's neat seeing the counterfeit clause on there. This is Columbus discovering land. Here you can actually see land in the background. And of course, you have George Washington. Very cool note with a bunch of different signature combinations. Like I said, you could make an entire collection of all the different years and signature combinations here. But if you're just interested in the 1917 version, these are available for $75 to $100 a piece in rough shape, and you'll pay a little more for nicer ones. That's number 8. Number 7. This is from the same year, and it's a legal tender. You can see on the top, series of 1917. This is a $2 bill. The $2 legal tender, always fascinating because of what we've got right here. The picture of the Capitol. This is the same image used on the $10 bill. And on the old $10 bills, you have this kind of image where you have the horse and buggy. You actually have a horse pulling a full-blown trolley over here. This has been replaced in the front with cars on our modern $10 bills. But it's such a cool and refreshing image to see that. You have Jefferson right there. And if we take a look at the back, you can see this design here was known as the bracelet back. It looks like you just put your hand right through there and be wearing a bracelet. And as we zoom in, you can see series of 1917. And it ends with or both. So yep, by 5,000 or 15 years hard labor or both. The counterfeiting clause right there. This one I want to say is going to start off in the $75 range. So it is pretty easy to get into your collection. A lot of people like collecting $2 bills because they think $2 bills are rare. They aren't rare, they just aren't used. You can always go to the bank and find $2 bills. So yeah, you can get a hold of these pretty easy. And if you're a $2 bill collector, well, here's your first large size shot at a $2 bill. The 1917 legal tender. That one is number 7. Number 6. There is a whole world of nationals. This is a national currency from the second charter period. This particular one happens to be from my hometown. They made nationals from 15,000 different banks. A national was when a bank would get a charter number from the federal government. That's this number right here. Then the bank would put money on deposit, and the government would print notes saying exactly who is backing that note. So this was the First National Bank of Kenosha, Wisconsin. I happen to live in Kenosha, so I wanted to get this one. Some notes can be very expensive because there weren't very many printed. Other notes are going to be very easy to acquire because so many were printed. The rule of thumb is the further west you go and the smaller the town, the more expensive the note. So if you're getting something from New York, New York, that's going to be pretty cheap. Whereas if you're getting something from Honolulu, Hawaii, that's going to be ridiculously expensive. So that is this particular one. That is the landing on the Pilgrims on the back. And with that many different national banks, you may have one for your hometown. You may want to look into seeing if you can find one. If you buy it locally, it's going to cost you more. If you buy your hometown far away from your hometown, it'll probably be much cheaper. And that's number 6, the national. Number 5, there are 2 versions of this that I want to talk about. This is the $5 legal tender from 1907, known as the wood chopper. Wood chopper is one of the really cool looks on there. You've got a man with his axe, there's his wife and baby. He's got his rifle there, he's got his dog, you can see his cabin in the back. That is the wood chopper. Very cool note. There's the back there. You almost have this bullseye effect here on the back. That's pretty cool. Same obligation about anti-counterfeiting there. But there is a second version, and this one has what's called the public error. And what it was is there was an engraving error on the back. If I look at this one here, I'll show the two side by side. The top one, if you look right here, it says PU, there's public right there, okay, for all debts public and private. But if you go over here and try to read for all debts, it looks like it says PCB. How close can I get that before it fades out? There's PCB. That was an engraving error, so it says PCB instead of public. So those are the two variations. This happened, the public error, on quite a few of the plates, so there really is no difference in value. But knowing that they both exist, I wanted to get them both, and maybe you want to get them both too. That one is number 5. Number 4. Here's a Federal Reserve banknote from 1918. This one features George Washington, of course, and you can get one from each of the Federal Reserve banks. That's the FRBN. Normally we talk about Federal Reserve notes. That would be FRN, Federal Reserve notes. This is a Federal Reserve Bank note, meaning that the individual Federal Reserve Bank, the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago in this instance, was the one backing the money on this one. Looking at the back of this one, you're looking at the eagle, with a flying eagle with the flag in hand. Very cool note. And this particular one, grades 30 EPQ. These start off at about 125 and go up from there based on their condition. So it's an easy add to your collection and a pretty cool piece of history as well. That one is number 4. Number 3. The classic Black Eagle, the 1899 silver certificate. Just a gorgeous note. So pretty. You almost want to make sure you get one that is in good condition, or at least the eagle itself is in good condition, because that's just a phenomenal engraving. It's one of the few notes to actually have 2 presidents. You've got Lincoln and Grant on it there. And looking at the back, you can see they left plenty of white, so you can see the red and blue fibers for anti-counterfeiting purposes. This is probably going to be the first note that you acquire from the 19th century. Here is a note that flat out says series of 1899. That's pretty cool. Forget the beauty of the note. It's from now 2 centuries ago, because we are now in the 21st century. The Black Eagle is a classic, and you should definitely have one of these. If you can afford to pay up for one, do so. But even if you can't afford one of the more expensive ones, you should still get one in your collection, just because such a cool note. So affordable, starting at roughly $130 or so, and they go up from there. That one is number 3. Number 2. Yes, I'm putting an educational note on this list. This is the 1896 $1 silver certificate. This educational note, it's hard to believe that people were spending these as money. It just does not look like money at all. One of the cool things about the educational is right down there. They have the S behind the 1, and that gives the illusion of a dollar sign. It's one of the few times you ever see anything that resembles a dollar sign on our money. You don't see that on modern notes. You don't even see that on the older notes. This one is history instructing youth. You see the mother instructing the child about Washington, D.C. You have the city on the hill. You have the Washington Monument. There's the Capitol, and that's the Constitution, all in front of the Potomac River. On a nice copy of this with a magnifying glass, that's legible. It's printed so fine that you can read it. If I remember, there are the names of 27, was it? 5, 10... 13, 23 famous Americans. Yep, 23 famous Americans of the time, or in history up to that point. And on the back, you have George and Martha. Very cool looking note. The first of the educational series. There's only the 1, the 2, and the 5 in that series, but these can get expensive real fast. You can get one of these starting out at about $220, $225. If you want to spend a little more and get a nicer one, it'll cost you a little more, but that's the opening range for one of the educationals. That's number 2. And finally, number 1, you can get yourself a gold certificate. Here is a 1922 $10 gold certificate. I always call this my Charlie Brown note for whatever dumb reason. I don't know if it's the color with the black and it reminds me of Charlie Brown's shirt, or maybe it's the big head that I see on here. It's Michael Hillegas on there. And the $10 gold certificate has that bright orange back. So if you can find one with the bright orange back, they call that goldfish orange. Really cool note. But if the 10 doesn't do it for you, you can always go with the 20, which is my favorite note, the $20 gold certificate from 1922. Such a cool note. A large size note with that gold, with Washington on there. This was such a popular motif for notes that all of our small size 20s had this motif. We've been seeing this design from here. This was first introduced in 1905, and it continued all the way through 1996 when they started introducing the new colorized version of the note. So we've been with this design forever, and of course, that awesome goldfish orange on the back. So those are my top 10 large size notes you should seriously consider having in your collection. Even if you're a beginner, you want a roadmap on large size notes? There you go. That covers a lot of different bases. If you learned anything new, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. Love reading all your comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.